Have you ever had that experience where you bumped into someone and after it, like you never knew them, and after it, you knew that it was meant to be? Well, that happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was at the gym and I bumped into this guy, and he just reached out and said hello, and that reach out turned into like a 45-minute talk, and he was going through some really bad stuff, and I shared with him a couple ideas, and I saw him light up with some ideas, but eventually we had to part ways, and as we parted ways, I was thinking, I wish there was some way that I could be of more service to him, some way I could, take some of the things I know, because some of the things that he was saying I'd been through, and I really wanted to give him some wisdom on that. And so I thought to myself, what can I do? And I thought, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of my ideas online so that I have a reference point that if anyone's going through something, I can help them as much as possible, and afterwards say, look, go here and anything that's yours. And so I'm saying this to you, anything that you hear here, if it's of any value to you, take it, it's yours, and if it's not, then you can just discard it. So I'd just like to take a couple of minutes to give you a couple of triggers to remind you of what I know that you know in your heart already. And specifically today, I want to talk about the feelings of being overwhelmed by anxiety, stress, um, feelings of pressure, and that creating of nervousness and fear that we can get sometimes. And again, it's not those feelings that are a problem, because they happen in life just like all the other positive feelings, but it's when we feel overwhelmed by these problems, and that comes by focusing on our own problems exclusively, and then we just feel like it's too much. So the story I want to share with you, how I changed that and overcame that, was when I was younger, in my late teens, I just became absolutely unbearable to live with. I was, um, I had very negative thinking, very toxic thinking, and that evolved into aggression, even violent behavior towards others, and I just became absolutely unbearable to live with. People around me just couldn't tolerate me. I lost all my friends one by one, and it got to a point where even, my biggest ally, who was my mother, eventually could not live with me anymore. And I remember she had to kick me out on the streets. It was a tough time, but I had just made myself, as my mum used to say, she said, Nicholas, don't make yourself difficult to love. I was doing that all the time. And then eventually she had no choice, and she had to kick me out. And some people think, oh, that was pretty harsh of her to do, but she had to. She put me out there and said, you have to grow up. And faced with the harsh realities of life, that's what I did. But it didn't come quickly, and it didn't come easily. I was homeless for a number of months, and my life consisted of at first feeling sorry for myself, blaming the world for my situation, and that was happening during the day. And during the nights, I had to wait till 9:30 to eat. Why did I have to wait till 9:30 to eat? Because at 9:30 the lights at the back of Coles would go out, and I could crawl up to the dumpster and get in and take out any food that was salvageable. And I would go back to where I was sleeping, which was a public toilet in a park. And I was sleeping between the wall and the public toilet because it was winter, and the only way I could get warm is to take the toilet paper and wet it with water and put it like paper mache over my fingers and anywhere that was exposed, my hands, and sleep after I'd eaten food out of a dumpster. So I'm sitting there, no family, no friends, no one would take me in because they knew what I was like. My reputation was too great. Even my mother cast me out. This is my thinking. I have no money, no job, no prospects. I'm sleeping next to a toilet, wrapped in toilet paper, eating food out of a dumpster. It really can't get much lower than this. So my problem seemed overwhelming at the time, and there seemed like no way out. Has anyone out there ever felt like there's no way out? I know you're out there. I can hear you breathing. And I decided in the end the only way to deal with this is just to end it all, just to kill myself. And I finally decided that's what I'm going to do. So one night I just head home because I knew how I wanted to do it, and what I needed was at home. So I went home to get the stuff to kill myself. Came through the back door because I knew how to get in our home, and my mother was in the kitchen, and I didn't know it, but she was incredibly ill because I'd been away at this point like 2 or 3 months. I hadn't seen her, and when I saw her, the state that she was in, I totally forgot all my problems. And I asked her what was wrong, and she wasn't surprised to see me, funnily enough. Um, and I looked after her, and I made her the soup that she made for me when I was a boy, when I got sick. And I looked after her, I put her in bed and nursed her, and I remember it was a couple of hours later, I came back and sat down on the sofa, and I just felt like, well, what else can I do, for her? And then I suddenly realized, wait a minute, like, I came back here to kill myself. And now I'm looking like feeling great about me. Why? And the reason was because I took myself out of my own problems for a minute and helped someone with theirs. And the reason that's so valuable for us to do is because, one, it puts our problems into perspective. Because when we focus on just our own problems, it creates something called the spotlight effect. It's actually scientifically proven that we focus just on our problem and everything else around it becomes dark, and we're no longer able to see what's good in any situation or recognize anyone else's problems. We just focus on what's wrong all the time, and with that comes feelings of us not being good enough to deal with that. And so at that moment, I felt good. I wanted to change, and that was the moment, because I changed my thinking, and then I changed my life. And for most of us, the change will happen when we embrace our own courage to take ourselves out of our own problems for a moment and help someone with theirs. And the beauty is, not only do you help them, but you help yourself because you feel great about yourself. And doesn't that help us deal with our own problems when we're feeling good? I mean, do we do better work when we're feeling good about ourselves and when we're not? Of course we are. We're better for our families, our friends. We're just better people to be around. So I encourage you, if you're feeling overwhelmed by your problems, one of the best things to do is take yourself out of your problem for a moment and help someone with theirs. I know that seems counterintuitive, but trust me on this. And for any of you out there afraid, of falling down or, making a mistake, there's two things I'll say. The first is that you've not met the real you when you fall. After you fall, there'll be a decision to make. And now you've met the real you. You are not defined by falling. You are defined by what you do after you fall. And the second thing, for those who say that, oh, I'm worried about making a mistake, your greatest wisdom will come from embracing your mistakes. And why can you do this? Lastly, before I go, guys, why can you do this? Because I believe in the human spirit. I've been at its breaking point. I've seen the darkest in my life. And I know what it's like when you feel like you're not good enough, you don't measure up, you're not intelligent enough, you're not pretty enough, you don't have the talent, the skill, you feel like no one believes in you, you don't have anyone in your corner, you are completely alone and in a dark place. But I'm here to tell you, there is something in you that is stronger than that. There is something in you that can survive anything. There is something in you that will outlast all your problems. Your problems are temporary. Your soul is eternal. And that thing is the human spirit. It is indestructible. It is eternal. And you have it. You already have it. Okay? Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, our greatest glory as human beings is not in never falling, but choosing to rise every time that we fall. And that's what one process was. Like, you fall, yes, and sometimes you feel you're not good enough, yes, and all that, but choosing to rise and then using that rising, helping someone else with their problems. I wouldn't be here today to talk to you if it didn't happen to me. So that's what I wanted to share with you, is my story. And like I said, if there's anything in there that's of any value to you, take it. It's now yours. Okay, and lastly, before I go, I just wanted to say a quick thank you to a friend of mine, Kath. I know you're going to be watching this, so thank you. Without your pushing, this may not have been possible. So thank you very much. If there's anything that you would like me to talk about in upcoming videos, please just leave a comment below it, and I'll definitely get back to it. Until then, guys, all the best, and God bless.